February, day after Valentine's Day. Pop the hood. We're gonna see if this thing is gonna start, because if it does, we're gonna pull it in the garage because we're gonna put a different motor and transmission in it. After we drove it 0.5 miles with 4-speed. Hey!
Just making sure it turned over.
It does. Might not the next time. I took the junk starter off this and I put a junk starter on it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah. All right, give it.
Really narrowing down the problem, I see.
Hit the pedal and see if it squirts. Do it again. Do it again. Okay, now it is. See if it starts. Good start. Whoa, fire! Don't give it any gas. I already did that. Drove itself in. I can't believe it didn't start. That's lame.
Name sauce.
Yeah, like a spinal bone.
Yeah, and they're just
Couldn't see him from that thing.
Then you just stick them in the spring this way. We took them things out, and now we're not a truck in the front anymore. We're actually tucking a little bit of tread. I've been deleting and putting new videos too much on that card, I think. See, it runs. We're just out of gas.
On today's episode, we're going to tear this thing down and put an LS in it. We're going to start from the top and work our way down. So Kiefer's going to grab the exhaust pipes, and I'm going to grab the carburetor and radiator hoses, and then we're going to go from there.
I'm going to put you on the time lapse. Well, it's the next morning. Made a little bit of a mess in the shop. Just getting stuff cleaned up. Motor's out. That was almost ready to go in. We're waiting on motor mounts. And when I woke up this morning, fresh blanket of what the... That's the current situation. So I think it's nice enough to power wash. We're gonna go ahead and just... Well, how satisfying is that? Got a few leftover cans of degreaser, so we're gonna spray her down. Give her a good power washing. All right, I made the executive decision to not paint the frame rails. I was gonna have it sandblasted and paint everything, but I think I'm just gonna leave it alone and stab the motor right in there how it is. At least the motor will be shiny. So right now we're gonna go ahead and get the coil packs off from the intake and the headers and everything so that we can grab it without screwing any of that up. Slipping it in there and seeing if we have to notch that air box a little bit, because I bought a fiberglass kit today just in case we have to. So let's get to it. Okay, my motor mounts are in the mail. They came raw. I gave them a quick coat of black paint They got quite a bit of slide action there, so we can get that much adjustability out of it. Because I want to try to, you know, make sure that my cross member still lines up and I can use the same drive shaft in this transmission. So we'll go ahead and slap these on and we'll get to dropping it in. So if you see here, we got the mounts on. These are from eBay. They were $24. And you see how much adjustability come. You know, you got so much to work with. That's all the way back. And you can go about 3 inches forward. So hopefully they work. We'll figure it out. We'll put it in the car. Lined right up. Test the drive shaft. The drive shaft's in, transmission's bolted up. Now I'm just cleaning up the inner fenders. I did that one. Now I want to do this one and put them back in. I also have the original column shift out of it. I'm going to put back in to hook up to the Turbo 350. So we'll get on that now. All right, we got the column shift hooked back up. All the gears. Nice. All right. It's been about a week since I set the motor in. I was just playing around, making sure these headers were gonna fit, which they do. I set the intake. We're getting pretty close to, I mean, it's very close. A few things I did off camera. The motor mounts are bolted down, the transmission's bolted down, drive shaft is in, shifter's hooked up. I used the bottom hose off of the donor vehicle, the Tahoe, and just had to cut about 4 inches off of it, and it bolted right on, clamped right on. I test fit the upper radiator hose from the Tahoe. It'll fit great. But right now, I'm just gonna go through and clean up these wires. Like these are for the starter. How you can start the car next door if you wanted to. This is the alternator. It's even longer. So I'm gonna try to kind of condense this wiring down and make it look a little cleaner, so when I put the harness on this, it won't look so bad. Also, what you didn't see is the AC unit came out. We tried to make a notch. I bought a fiberglass kit and everything to try to make it fit, and when I cut through it, I cut right into the heater core. Yeah. So this winter, I have a parts car out back. We'll have to get that heater core out and do some modifications to that. But for now, I have a plate motor, or a plate coming. Just a firewall plate. It should be in the mail today. And so I'm just going to get going on little stuff like shortening up the brake booster lines, gonna try to do throttle cable. I got the adapters to hook up the temperature sensor, just a bunch of little stuff that I can do right now while I'm waiting on parts, because the fuel system hasn't came yet, or that's about it. Just wait on the fuel system really. So I'm gonna try to button up everything in here. I do need to put a smaller pulley on here, which I got the part number for today, and we're gonna test that out and see if that's right. We're going to set the collectors on the headers to make sure everything clears down there with the Turbo 350. So I'm going to do a little thing off camera and try to clean some stuff up, and then we'll be back. Alright, little update. Plate came. FedEx a couple hours ago. Got it bolted in. I dealt with all that wiring harness that was, you know, started an engine at the neighbor's house with. I doubled it all up. Wrapped it in tape, put a little clamp here that'll hold it in place. Then we have the starter wires coming out of it down to the starter. So if you're standing back here, it really looks good. Cleaned it up. Now I have the AN fitting still on the radiator from 2 transmissions ago. So I'm gonna go ahead and put these lines back on it and run them to the transmission. We got the transmission cooler lines on, but I didn't like how they were just floating around in here, because the first time I put an automatic in here, one of them touched my starter, and when that happens you have to buy a new one. So I'm gonna try to clean this up a little bit. So I'm gonna put a couple of these insulated, you know, I bought a bucket of these at an auction, all different sizes. So I'm gonna put these around here, and then I'm going to, you know, bolt them both together so it separates the lines and keeps them together. And I was digging through the tap drawer looking for a 5/16 tap to tap that hole that was already there, and Cyrus brought it to my attention that I bought that cool riv nut gun. Alright, right there, the riv nut is in, just a rivet with threads.
Sure they're not gonna.
Alright, that's how it came out. Kind of separates them. I got a little time before work today, so we're going to round up the parts car. And I need a nut for the steering wheel. I need this pigtail for the turn signal. And I need that wiper arm, because the other one is gone. So this is the car that keeps on giving. We fixed a lot of stuff on a couple of the Malibus with just this one El Camino. Well, it does have a bezel. The 4-door's cracked from here clear around here. So yeah, we'll definitely grab that. I'm after the turn signal switch and pigtail. Let's hope this steering wheel has a nut on it. Oh yeah, look at that. We're gonna need that. This switch still sounds good. Oh yeah, tilt column. Grand National sending unit. We have a Walbro 255 pump, and we have these little fittings that you got to cut the barb off the end like that. Then you just put these AN adapters on. Pretty nifty. Excepting for I stripped this one right off the bat. So I ordered another one of those. They'll be on the way. So now I'm going to get this all together. This just sits in here like that with a sock. Has a hose from here, from this nipple to that nipple. And then we got to solder the Walbro pump to the stock Grand National plug, because they are not the same. So I'm going to get on that and I'll show you the finished product. Okay, so after a little while of waiting in the mail, this is what we're left with. We got the Walbro 255 pump, the insulator. The bottom's a little different, so it doesn't really fit in this little rubber boot that comes with it. It'll fit in there, but then your pickup screen doesn't have enough room to go deep enough to get onto this nipple. So I just put it in place and zip tied it there to the return. So you see hose here to here, and that's the feed line. It's right here, adapted to the compression fitting for AN6 or 6AN. This here is the vent. Comes up, that'll just go to regular rubber hose up taller than the tank somewhere. And then this is the return line that goes here to the bottom of the pump. And it comes out, it's also adapted to 6AN. So now my fitting should all fit right on here. It's a AN6 to push lock, so it's all going to be rubber hose on this car. But then you just have a ground, the main feed wire for your fuel pump, and then you have your gas gauge. So now we just got to get the new gaskets and little rubber O-ring, and gonna get this sock on there, and we can drop it in the tank. So as you guys saw, I made a harness for this car, but when I got to the very end of deep pinning it and cleaning it up, I realized there's a lot of stuff that was clipped off of it that I didn't know about. So by the time I went and got the different math, the O2 sensor connector, and all that stuff, I went online and priced it, and this kit was $84 on eBay, and it comes with the fuse box. It's already depinned. It's for a turbo 350 transmission or T56 or whatever non-electric transmission. So we're gonna be putting this on today, and since it's an LS1, I have to get the adapters for the injectors. And while I had it, I went ahead and bought these for $10 on eBay. They're just little things that bolt on your computer so that we can mount it underneath the dash. So I think my plan is to take this panel back off, drill the 2.5 or the 2-inch hole right there, somewhere in there, mount the computer in there, the fuse box in behind that, and then bring it out right there and then wire the motor. So right now we're going to try to get things cleaned up a little bit and get it set on there and see if we can't, you know, pull the headers off. Because once the harness is on, we can get the header gaskets in. I ordered some header bolts. So a lot of the front of this is going to get put together after we get the harness on. That means starter can go on. The car wiring can be hooked to the motor. The battery cables can go on. The header gaskets. O2 sensors. All that good stuff. So we're going to get started on that. See what we can come up with. Alrighty, we got the giant hole in the firewall again. We got this block off plate out, and we got a hole marked here where we're gonna drill the hole. For the instructions say a 2-inch hole, but that's not exactly what this measures. So if I have to put a little bit bigger hole saw in there, I will, but we're gonna go a 2-inch first.
I like your style, dude.
I like your style, dude.
And we're gonna get this hole drilled, get that fed through there,
The whole cowboy thing going.
and we'll be back. Alrighty, well, here are the little $10 brackets that go on your computer so you can mount it in your firewall. And the grommet was 2 inches. Good thing I didn't go bigger. So I think the plan is we only need barely any coming out of here, but I got the extendo version. So I think we're just gonna have to loop it around like this, kind of mount the computer in the middle, put these on there, and then try to, you know, zip tie this up out of the way, and then figure out where to put this fuse box that you can easily access and figure out if you blew a fuse or something. So that's next. Alrighty, I got the computer mounted on the back side of the block off plate. On this side I just used 1/4 inch by I think 1/2 inch. They just got a sheet metal type flat head on the front so that it won't be protruding much off the firewall. We'll cover it up with a sticker or just leave it alone like that. So now I'm gonna have to connect these. Since I got 8 miles of wire left over, I'm just gonna make a loop around it, hook it back in, and then we'll use these little things to zip tie it around here and make it look all neat so that it can just bolt right in. We can plug this harness in. So here's what we're ending up with. This is the back side of the panel. We have the computer mounted here. It's zip tied to the 4 corners to keep this thing out of the way. Here's some fan wires and stuff for the relay. We'll have to run once it's inside the cab. Here's the fuse box. It'll be inside the glove box, which is pretty much right here, so you can access the fuses. I was going to mount it right here, but I think it's going to be kind of a bitch to get to the fuses in case anything happens. This will be grounded to the inside. Here's the OBD2. That'll mount to the bottom of the dash over here by the, well, underneath the steering wheel. So that'll all tidy up in there. And then on the front side, we have just the plain panel with those 4 little machine screws and a little grommet coming out with our harness. So we're going to set it in there and see how it looks. All right, little update here. Thing out of the way, maybe. Panels in. As you can see, we just have the little grommet. Actually, I might need this light. So, panels in. It's got this little grommet coming out. I tried to keep it as clean as I could. It's kind of hard with these adapters for the fuel injectors, but I got it kind of down in there as best as I could. I just kind of wrapped them around so it didn't look like there were too much wires everywhere, you know. And so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna get this side's header gasket on and get it tightened down. Then I'm gonna do the other side, that way I can get like the starter and all those wires and all that stuff on. Well, got the starter in. We got the main power wires for the wiring harness up to it, with the power to the car up to it, and the battery cable and the exciter wire. Got them zip tied here down around the way. So now I think we can go ahead and throw this header on this side. So, and then the plug wires. We got the header gaskets on this side, the plug wires in. This side's all wired. And then after this, we pretty much have to put the smaller pulley and belt on, and then put the fuel tank back in it and run the fuel lines, and we should be driving this thing. It's a new day. One of the warmest days we've had so far. And the Chinese parts gods finally came. We have all the fuel line, fuel fittings, dipstick, grommet, fuel filter, fittings, air cleaner, and so next all we got to do is start hooking up all of our fuel lines and get this thing back in the car. So that's next on the list. So originally I was going to go with some AN line on this tank. All I could find was cheap stuff that was in my budget, and I didn't read any very good reviews. So what we are going to do is this 300 psi rubber line, and I had these little push lock things, and they're going to screw right onto our 6AN line, like so. And then this hose will push onto here. We got a inline fuel filter and strap for the supply line, and a couple 90s to go off of the fuel rails to go down to the frame. So we're gonna start piecing this together. Well, here at the back, with the sending unit together, the push lock adapters, and both of our lines on. I was thinking about starting the car with this laying on the ground back here before I strap it up, to make sure we don't have any leaks, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. But that's where we're at right now. We're gonna put the tank up in there with the jack. I could get the vent hose on it. Pretty sure I'm gonna clip these off because I don't have the same plug that would be like on a Grand National. So that's the next step. See the red wire hanging? That's for the fuel pump. This one's for the fuel gauge. We'll have a ground. Oh, that's air hose for the air shocks. But then there'll just be a ground, fuel gauge, and supply line. So we get that jacked up in there so we can start running fuel line. All right, we're underneath old Krusty here. As you can see, we got the fuel tank in. I don't know if you can see up in here. Kind of dark, but here's what we got going. Here's the supply line, runs up here to the fuel pump, bolted to the bottom of the floor. It goes towards the front. This is the return line. It goes with it, or for return. And this is the vent line I just have kind of set up here for now through the old fuel line bracket. So now we just I gotta clean this up. And then we need to figure out how we're gonna run these hoses up to the front of the car.
Oh yeah, she's trying.
Oh, oh.
Feel's gotta get all the way.
What is that?
Something was grinding against the starter, it sounded like. Yeah, I'll take it. Fuel pump works. Need to tighten something underneath there though, it sounds like.
Yeah, someone's hitting something.
Well, there's no O2 sensor, so it won't idle. But fuck yeah. It worked. That's cool. Oh, there's a fuel leak already. Yeah, I need to check under all my fittings, make sure there's nothing leaking out.
Oh, hell yeah, dude. Dry. Bone dry.
Well, I've been sicker than a dog for about a week, so I haven't been in the garage. But we got the 300-202 pulley on here, the smaller one, and as you can see, it clears just fine. This is a factory G-Body pressure side line from O'Reilly's. This is a factory return line from O'Reilly's for a G-Body, and it was really long and stupid, so I cut it and barbed it. So that's all done. So now I think we're gonna, the cold air intake comes over here. I'm gonna use this hole in the frame right here to put a little bracket to hold that tube up in the air so it's not just floating in the corner here. This weekend I should have the adapter to adapt this, where the hell it is, this 3-pin MAF and IAT to this 5-pin I already had. It was the cheaper route. And then my O2 sensors will be here in the mail too. So after that, all we should have to do is put exhaust on this and do the electric fans. So there's just a quick update for you. Alrighty. Been a while since I worked on the old car. I did get it in here last night. Finally put the adapter on for the MAF sensor and got the O2 sensors on. But I started it up and I used the old laser thermometer, and these back 3 cylinders were cold, not firing, running a little weird. So I pulled the plug out. We do have fire, so I'm thinking this intake's sat in here in the garage for probably 4 years. So I'm thinking maybe some of the injectors are clogged up. Yeah, so the next move here, I reckon, is we're gonna go ahead and pull the rails injectors off so I can send them to a guy in town, and he's gonna put them in his little machine and blow through them. So let's get them off. All right, so I drilled these 2 holes in every corner, put 6 inches of 3/4 angle iron just to get it over here. I use rib nuts under here so I can just unscrew these whenever I need to. Then I put this plate out here on each side. I found these things in the dumpster, welded them on. So now you can set this on here, and then it right there, I gotta drill these holes, and it'll mount to the tab on each side. So, and everything's kind of the right height. So I just need to pull this apart, drill the holes, mount them up, then they can go back on the car. So, when you take this thing all off, I'll show you. It's kind of warm still, I just got done welding. Went ahead and welded the bolts on the back side so that it's just studs. And then these, like I said, are the rib nuts. $50 gun off of eBay, and it comes with all the rib nuts. Then you put it back in place like this, and then you just screw it back in, and then that's your mount for the Dodge Stratus fans. So, yeah. There we go. So it goes on here. These just fit right onto these studs now, just like that. Okay. So what we did here to hold it in place is I just took this jigsaw to the factory fan shroud. I had to notch it over here to clear my little mounts I made for the fans. Oh, look at that. No. The injectors. But put this on here now. Scoot it over to where it needs to be. And then we're just using this stock fan shroud as the radiator hold down because it's free. Here's what I'm thinking on here. There's gonna be a bracket coming off of here going down, but if we can get this hose, oh, it's starting to rain. I wanted to kind of, oh yeah, just like that. I'll put a couple brackets to hold it there, and the whole setup kind of looks pretty clean. Just gotta wire the fans up and get everything finalized, but looks good from the front. Holds the radiator down, the fans are in. Just needs wired and a bracket maybe for that intake. I have 2 injectors plugged up. Figured it out when we put it on the little fancy machine. So I got to get injectors and finish this front thing up, and we should be driving this thing. So what we have here is the crossover tube and the secondary tube off of the van we took the 6.0 out of, and it's 3-inch, and it gets a little skinny right here. And this is the second side, where we might do a little X pipe here and then go off to the exhaust at the back, or maybe we just end it somewhere right in here. But it's a little wide, so I think this is what we're going to use. I'm going to cut it up and piece it together. Yeah. Oop. Okay, here's the first part of the exhaust. Got it tacked together here. Got it tacked there. And I got it tacked there. So now I'm going to go ahead and weld all this up before I move along, so none of it comes out of place. Alrighty, that's all welded up. So we're going to stick it back underneath there and keep making our way.
Maiden voyage.
That's barely on there. What about a core? Tell me when. When's the core?
So probably about right there.
Right there?
Right in there.
First drive, dude.
Oh, look.
Yeah.
Oh!
Oh, that one just flipped upside down. I'm glad you can see.
Yeah, the camera can see.
That's low. It does.
Oh, it does?
Oh yeah! It smoked it for sure.
You look cool. I'd say so. You got the grass on fire. You got the wet grass on fire. I can't see fucking shit through this thing.
It's the exhaust that's hitting the frame hard.
Running your flags over, old. Oh shit!
He's a one-leggер!
You're gonna have to cover up that hole.
Yeah.
Fucking blew my drums out, dude.